Welcome to Art Ed Radio, the podcast for art teachers. This show is produced by the Art of Education University, and I'm your host, Tim Bogantz. A few weeks ago, I had Janine Campbell on the show to talk about her experiences this year, her work with automatas, getting the COVID vaccine, just a lot of different topics. And in the course of that conversation, we talked about Janine's NAEA presentation with Catie Nasser. And I mentioned how I wanted to have Catie on the show because she does so many cool things. And she is here today. And so we're going to talk today about the tiny museum that she is creating in her community. It is such a cool idea, and she's doing a lot of interesting things with it, and I think it'll lead to a good discussion. Now, we've talked about tiny art shows before. It was about 2 years ago, I think, that we did an Art Ed Radio episode with McKay Lanker-Bayer, the art teacher behind the first tiny art show. That was a fascinating conversation, and if you listen to that, it'll give you the story and the inspiration behind the idea. And just last month, Jonathan Jurovich wrote an article for the AOEU magazine about how he sets up tiny art shows in his school. Both of those are great resources, both the episode and the article, if this is a topic that interests you and something that you want to dive into a little bit further. But Catie, with her tiny art museum, is doing something different. She's building an entire, like I said, tiny museum, making it more permanent, having gallery openings, and featuring different artists. So many really, really interesting things. I should honestly, though, just let her tell you about it. So let me go ahead and bring her on. All right, Catie Nasser is joining me now. Catie, how are you?
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. We have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. But welcome to the show, first of all. And since you haven't been here before, can you give us just a quick introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself, about where you teach, what your interests are.
Sure. So Tim said, my name's Catie Nasser. I'm an elementary teacher. I teach K to 6 elementary art, various combinations of those grades each year. I never quite know which ones they're going to throw at me. And I also teach a class that I developed, maybe 4 years ago called Artivation. And that's a class that integrates innovation and art and robotics and STEAM and all kinds of crazy fun stuff into my art curriculum. So I kind of have two of those programs running at the same time. And that has provided me with tons of exciting new things to learn about ways to bring innovation and learning in new ways into my art curriculum and showing kids that stuff too.
Yeah, that's so cool. There's a lot of really nice things going on there. Just knowing what I know, like from following you on social media and things like that, I'm always impressed with what you're doing there. But I really wanted to talk about your new project, your big project, the tiny gallery that you're doing. So can you just tell us about the tiny gallery that you're creating?
Yes. So I'm creating this tiny gallery. Last year, maybe last spring, the town I live in Melrose, Massachusetts, put out a call for public art, and people could submit any proposal. And this was an idea that I have been wanting to do for a while. So I wrote up a grant proposal for this tiny gallery, and it would be like a public viewing place that would rotate just like you would see in like a regular gallery that you might, walk into. Yeah. And this one you would just walk up to. So I was selected as one of the grant recipients. They selected 9 area artists, so 9 artists through my community, and people are doing all kinds of things, murals, painting electrical boxes. Somebody's making a giant wooden sculpture of a dragon. So all kinds of different things in our town or our city. It's actually a small city. And so this was also selected. So I have been now tasked to create this tiny gallery. I've been kind of working on it since last summer. I found out that I was awarded one of the grants.
Wow, that's really cool. And it sounds like a lot of cool things going on, just all over the city. So that'll be really, really nice. I'm curious though about sort of where you got the idea for a tiny gallery. Like, where did the inspiration come from? Like, where did you get the idea for this project?
So, so like I said, I've had this idea for a while. I used to live in Somerville, Massachusetts, which has a really big, thriving art community, almost a colony. There's a lot of artists there. I think we have one of the biggest open studios, Somerville, in like this country. So
Nice.
lots going on there. And years ago, I mean, I want to say like 10 years ago, there was a tiny museum that opened up in Melrose. It was called the Tiny Museum, and it was installed like right into a wall in an old, I don't even know, it was like this bank box or something like really cool. It was like right into the wall, and it had rotating art and on tiny scale. And I thought that was so different and fun and
Yeah.
whimsical. And I have ever since then have been wanting to create that myself. Have toyed around with like building it and putting it in my yard or things like that. And so when this grant opportunity came up, I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. So I finally have been given the chance to bring this to reality.
Nice. Now, just the way my mind works, I'm trying to picture this and trying to figure out exactly what it's going to look like. And I have just a million logistical questions on like how it all comes together. So
Okay.
can you tell us like how the tiny gallery is built, like how the artwork is made, how it's all coming together to form this tiny gallery?
Okay. I will give you a picture. So it's kind of based, I mean, like, think of the little free libraries that are popping up everywhere. So
Yes.
it's along that same line where it's going to be um, a small box that is installed on a post into the ground. So you will like literally walk up to this gallery and see the art. I've gone through like various designs since like I said, I think in July or August I found out that I was getting this grant, and so I started
Mm-hmm.
designing and looked at little free library designs for their structure and also their size. So I thought that was a great place to start, and then went from some of the more modern designs I saw from there into like some other like really modern designs, and then settled on this kind of classic Greek architecture inspired design, as because I want this to be around for years.
Yeah.
I want this to be like a long standing thing, and I thought like, well, a classic Greek looking little gallery will withstand time and still be relevant in 10 years or whatnot. And in Boston we have a lot of, Melrose is outside of Boston. We have a lot of that architecture anyway. Like our MFA, our museum has pillars and has this Greek architectural look. So I felt like it fit in with like what people know as an art gallery. Um, so I designed this, and in my plan was that I would be building this myself with a master woodworker that I know, my father-in-law, who lives in
Yeah.
Maine. And I shared my plans with him. He put them into his building software and developed kind of like a more three-dimensional model of it. And then, we're in COVID times. So
Yeah.
my plan to actually assist him in building it did not happen the way I wanted. So
Right.
I've been, in the role of like the lead designer and like making all the decisions, and he's helping me execute it. But he's actually brought like amazing ideas of things that I didn't think about to this gallery. Like he's a woodworker by hobby, but
Mm-hmm.
he's an engineer too, and he's thinking about it like as an actual structure, like a building. And he's thinking, oh well, in the summer it's going to be way too hot. We have to do something to keep the art cool inside. So
Yeah.
he thought like, what if we did a metal copper roof that's going to reflect the light and not absorb as much heat. And so he proposed that to me, and I said, and we looked at some images. I thought that looks great, so we did. If you look on my Instagram page for the gallery, like you'll see we have a metal roof now installed in the gallery. So he's really been this process of like, I want, like, I told him I want the floors to look like really nice polished floors.
Yeah.
And like I could go get wood sample, but the scale is off. So there's a lot of issues like that, like things that you could buy for it, like the scale would be off because the dimensions are 12 inches by 25 inches approximately. So he actually used like I want to say pine, but I'm not positive, but a blonde wood, so like a light wood, and cut it into these little thin planks and laid them down to look like floor for me. And then we're going to put polyurethane on it. So it's going to look like you're in this like really nice hardwood floor in a gallery. And just these little details that, that he just thinks about, like, what if I order really thin floor molding? Okay, that sounds great.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, yes. It's really been obviously I wanted to help him do this, but it's really been a gift that he agreed to do this with me, because he is really thinking about things that I don't think, like, I could have built the box myself, but it wouldn't have been to the extent that he is helping me to do this. And it's really going to be I think the museum in itself is going to be a work of art. Let alone the art that's actually going to be inside it.
Yeah, well, okay, so I want to talk about the art in just a second. But you mentioned your Instagram page. Can you give us the handle really quick if people want to?
Yep, so if you want to follow along with the gallery, it is at Melrose Tiny Gallery. So I post images there. Also, my own personal at Catie Nasser. Both of those I'm posting updates and images when we have the call for art, which I think we'll talk about in a minute, but when that comes up, like all of that stuff will be posted on that site. So that's where you would find out if you're interested in having a show or an exhibition in our tiny gallery. Like that's where you would find out all about that.
Okay, super cool. And we'll link those in the show notes also, so whoever's listening to that can check those out. Okay, so let's talk art, let's talk shows, let's talk artists who are going to be in there. Like, can you tell us your plan for how art is going to get into this amazing tiny gallery?
Yes, so art is tiny, the gallery is tiny, the art is going to be tiny. So it will have a maximum size of 3 inches by 3 inches. So this is like, and it could be, it doesn't have to be square, but small. These are miniature works of art. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking also sculptural works could be small sculptural works. We have some pedestals in there. Like, again, like you would see, like this will be a gallery, just miniature size. Mm-hmm. So where we are with the art. So I think we're hoping to have this installed the beginning of April. I think our ground is still frozen here, so we can't quite get it in yet. And there's some other logistical things to having it installed. But we actually have our first art show lined up, which is going to be a children's show. The gallery is located outside of a community art center in Melrose called Follow Your Art. And they ran a camp in February on public art where the kids learned all about the different public artists that were involved in this grant and this initiative for our city. So as part of their week of camp, they created miniature works. I think there was 9 kids in the camp that will have their artwork on display as like the kickoff show. Cool. So that's really fun. I went in and talked to them about it, and we talked about like the miniature scale and looked at some mini works of art that I had and showed them my design. So I think that was fun for them. And then as far as shows after that, I think it's going to be a combination of group shows, solo shows. I really want to reach out to BIPOC artists in my community and the surrounding communities. I think that's an important voice that needs to be heard. And I would like to feature a show of their work. I see this also as like a way for, well, two things. Like one, an artist that's maybe not as well known to get their name out there and get work out to the public to be able to see. But also, I would imagine that they would be wanting to sell their artwork, and like this is a way for people to collect art, to collect small pieces that are affordable, because personally, like I love collecting art. When I go travel, I try to find a local artist and purchase art, but it's expensive. Yeah. So, but like a tiny art piece, like I think that could be something that more people could grasp, being able to afford and maybe appreciate purchasing and starting their own art collection, personal art collection.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a really intriguing idea. I like that a lot. So that's, I don't know, just anything that makes art more accessible, more approachable, I think is worthwhile. So that's a really good idea. And then one other question, just one art teacher to another. Yes. Like, do you see a role for your students getting involved with the tiny gallery, or are you going to keep things separate? Like, will they have a chance to participate, or is this something that you just want to make available to working artists in the community?
No, I definitely think I would like to have a child or a student presence as well. I teach in a different community than I live. I think I would love to like see children and schools like from the community I live in, maybe exhibited before the students in the community I teach in. Right. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't engage them in this process down the road. I would love to work with our local high school in Melrose. There's, the seniors here, our Boston Globe gives out awards for artists to emerging artists, and Scholastic has their emerging artist program. Like, I would love to feature some of those artists and have a partnership with the schools in Melrose, and then I could see also including my own students in an art show as well. If I don't see that out of the possibility.
Yeah, very cool. I think there's a lot of really, really nice possibilities there. So, Catie, I think that covers everything that I was curious about and everything I wanted to know about the Tiny Gallery. So thank you so much for joining me, taking some time to tell us all about that. And we'll get everybody following you on Instagram and kind of following along with the progress, especially as you get everything ready to go in the next month or so.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Catie, and hopefully we can talk to you again soon.
All right, great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you to Catie. I'm really wanting to have Catie and Janine, who I mentioned at the beginning, present at the Now conference this summer, so I hope we can make that a reality. And of course, I'm going to talk a lot about the conference between now and the end of July. So just fair warning for you. Just know that we have a lot of great things planned. We are going to make the Now conference a better experience than ever before, and it's going to be worth your time. And if you visit the AOEU website, you can sign up now at a discounted price. But in the meantime, you can follow along with the tiny museum that Catie is creating and all of the tiny art that could be going into that museum. We'll link to her Instagram page so you can follow the progress, and who knows, it might inspire something in your students or in you as well. Art Ed Radio is produced by the Art of Education University with audio engineering by Michael Crocker. We will be back next week with a celebration of AOEU's 10th anniversary and some really fun behind-the-scenes stories from me and Amanda Hine. We'll talk to you then.